All right, so how do you start? I mean, really, there's no wrong way to do it. Sometimes people go big bang. We're going to hire 3, or you don't want to hire 10 prospectors because it's too much. But let's say it's a full team, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and we're going to put in Salesforce. We're going to spend 5 or 6 figures on consulting and apps and whatever. Or sometimes a baby step. I'm going to hire an outsource company. I'm going to hire one person. Or I'm going to have my one person internally do it part-time. You can start with baby steps to learn. You're not going to get great results until you invest bigger. But you can always start with baby steps. And sometimes if you realize you just need to hire one good person or dedicate one good person, and that can be the thing that you can actually task them to, hey, figure this out and tell us what to do. Or they're the first prospector. Or they're the ones who are deciding who to hire for outsourcing. Whatever it is. But that one good person, internal transfer is better because it's faster, or hire can make all the difference. So there's a lot of details to go around outbound in this new ebook I'm creating. It's a prelude to a full sequel to Predictable Revenue coming out next year. But we got some free chapters out today at predictablerevenue.com/triple. It's about outbound and also customer success and inbound. And as we wrap up, so Predictable Revenue is all about creating scalable outbound sales success. Actually merging with a company called Carburetor right now, so we can do consulting, training, and outsourcing, because I do see it as a great accelerator, and we're building software, outbound sales automation software. So thanks, and we're going to have some Q&A. First, yes?
Yep, I'm going to take it.
All right, sir.
Okay, so I got them all.
I got a claw on it.
I'm going to use both hands. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. Can I get a quick round of applause for Aaron? Fantastic. So we're going to open it up to questions in just a second, but I do have one question for you. Ken Krogh in Inside Sales is trying to do a thank Salesforce for all the work they've done. So Ken wrote a Forbes article, and one of the questions we have for you, because you were a Salesforce guy, what does Salesforce mean for you? What has it done for you? Any quick thoughts on your relationship in Salesforce.com? Coming back.
Salesforce. How do I count the ways that I love thee? Seriously, Salesforce. I really always appreciated the work they did. I enjoyed working there usually. But I will say that I'm out in the market. I work with companies consulting on all kinds of sales topics, especially outbound. And while there are a lot of other great apps that are competitors to Salesforce, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why people haven't been able to do it, but Salesforce, I still have not been able, it's still the best, for at least what we do, helping companies build scalable teams and outbound programs. Someday someone's going to come up with an app or evolve it where it can compete head-to-head, at least from what I see, but I haven't seen it yet. So I'm still a big fan, and there's a lot of legs left in the interface, which it probably hasn't really changed since I was there, which was 8 years ago. But it works, If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay, let's open it up then to questions from the group. We got a couple here. Sean?
Yeah, I'm curious if you've seen specialization change from the first book to the second. Are you seeing any changes in that area?
So the question is, am I seeing any changes in the area of specialization? I'm not, except that it's becoming more accepted as just a standard way to work. It's not by everyone. And in the second book, it's the same idea, but I have a lot more detail on what if you're small, what if you're large, what if your executives believe that they're going to give, by specializing, customers will get worse service by being passed off, which isn't true. They'll get better service. And so just in a case study, some more details, and actually it's in the next section coming out of the ebook. So I think expanding on it and just give people, there's a lot of, it's the number one area of questions I get. So I'm just going to try to answer more of those questions. Yeah, it's on specialization. So I'm going to try to answer the questions in the book this time.
I think there was a question over here. Anybody? So one question we have from the group. When you think about this outbound versus inbound model, I think a lot of people have questions about compensation. Any tips about how to compensate in this specialized model?
Sure. So again, inbound and outbound, great compliments, peanut butter and chocolate. And when you have junior salespeople, so let's say there's reps who are responding to inbound leads and then outbound prospectors, I find that there's 3 components of compensation that generally work really well. And they're pretty similar with some differences. But I like first a base salary that helps people pay the bills, because you don't want desperate salespeople. They do funny things to your prospects and customers, like lying. So that's number one. Number two is, I'd say probably half the compensation is targeted or tied to a certain number of qualified opportunities passed each month. This is where if you're doing inbound lead response, that number will be a lot higher. Maybe it's 30, 50, 90, depending on your volume.
Do you feel like there's some benchmarks out there for that, or is that just kind of...
Are there benchmarks? Inbound, there's so much variety.
Yeah, for sure.
But half the comp is tied to a number of qualified opportunities per month. And then half the comp is tied to some sort of what closes. A percentage, could be by points. There's lots of ways to do it. And again, those three basic aspects can change a lot by business, because if you're selling to the federal government with 18-month sales cycles, percentage of deal closing doesn't make sense. And so a rough range, again, the point is if you have an inbound lead responder, they could be doing, 20, 50, maybe 100, if it's really high volume, leads a month, qualified or appointments a month. Outbound prospectors probably doing more like 5 to 15. So same structures, but just different quotas and goals, as a rough sense.
Perfect. I like it. One other question from us, and then again, if we have any questions in the group, let us know. When it comes to thinking about some of the tips you got in your presentation here, one of my favorites was the myth about research, that outbound reps have to do a lot of research. For the group, any other takeaways? If you had to narrow it down to your thing you see most in the market where people are failing when building an outbound prospecting team, if you had to say one or two things, what would it be? Other myths you see? Any quick thoughts?
So besides that, again, doing research can work, but you don't have to do it. I like to do the research by prospecting. But the other, again, that major one I see is that I mentioned is not being specific or targeted enough in the kinds of companies that you're going after. So in other words, your ideal outbound customer, outbound target, is a much narrower, more specific version of your general ideal customer. More specific by type of industry. So one example, there's a company called ADC that was a client, and they do Salesforce implementations, and they probably had customers in 20 verticals. Now services is harder in general, but they found success by prospecting to, first, shopping mall management companies or leasing companies, but it's like a super specific vertical because there's different reasons, but that worked to get started. It's easier with products, but the point is be super, super focused. That I always say, look, the top 10 or 20% of your customers, easiest to close, biggest dollar value, what do they have in common? Start there at the top. Start focused, and don't try to scatter yourself over too many states, industries, types of customers, types of deals, types of products. Pick one product.
Good. Okay. All right, that is Aaron Ross. Any other questions? Oh, we got one more here.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too complex, because we do appointment setting, we have inbound sales, and we have outbound sales. And I haven't read your book yet, which I will do. But it sounds like what you're saying is that you should stay with the specialization. But the question is, we have outbound sales that we were thinking about because we have a high range of complexity in our products. Some very simple, very complex, and we would start to have this pay for a pass back model. So I'm an outbound sales rep, I determine whether I'm going to sell it or pass it back, and then create that compensation plan. Are you suggesting stay away from that and go from the outbound makes a sale and then you pass it, completely change the accounts, I guess, and go for an upsell model?
Yeah, so I guess I understand. So the question is, you've got salespeople who are closing deals who are also doing prospecting, but you have a lot of different products, some simple, some complicated, and you're like, well, how do we...
We can sell something for $30 for pounding it out, but we also sell products for
$30 to $1,000. Okay. Well, again, for outbound prospecting, again, usually the bigger the bigger deals are where you actually make money, because there's human limits to the number of appointments and close rates and so on, where at $30 you just can't make money at it. So that's one thing. I would for sure look at having dedicated prospectors, maybe for not the entire portfolio, but for some products. And you have a special case. In working with SAP, they have, let's say, 15 products they can sell. We say, look, as a salesperson, pick one, or maybe two that is your go-to. You lead with it and you focus on it. So again, I think by having dedicated prospectors as part of it, and for the salespeople who are currently prospecting, make sure they're picking like a very small number of products to pitch, And if they have to pass stuff back and so on, I'd have to talk to you separately about that. But with the principle is focus. You're really isolating what is the important things that need to happen that are the sort of most realistic to generate revenue, highest success rates, highest deal value, and how do I isolate those roles so that we have people who are doing fewer things better rather than juggling lots of things not so well. So that's why it's the idea of focus, right? Single tasking or being really good at something. And usually companies don't specialize enough. So it's okay to have lots of different roles. Even outbound, sometimes companies have researchers that just research. And then there's prospectors who prospect inside. So I would maybe just look at having more roles. Now, one last thing is the great thing, look for reasons to create junior roles in your company. Because the more that you can have feeder jobs, like feeders in just even support, operations, sales, it's great ways to bring people, like talented people who don't have a lot of experience, grow them up through the ranks, and they'll be your most successful people over time. And the lowest risk, because when you promote someone internally, you already know their strengths or weaknesses, they know you, they have a much higher success rate rather than this 50% fail rate for external salespeople.
That actually happened in our company where one of our myths was the CEO believed that our field force was strong, so anything outbound would just be whatever. And then they started to get higher close rates in the field force.
Yeah, the outbound salespeople did better in the field. So actually, one bonus tip is, and probably the main point of the next book, is that your sales team attrition should be less than 10% per year. Most companies have 27%.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I say, stop blaming the salespeople. Start looking at yourself, the company, who hired those people. No, but they weren't working hard enough. They missed their quotas. Their fault. No. Go study Toyota. How are you generating leads, hiring, training, setting up their systems, comp management, etc. Thank you very much.
No, that's perfect, you guys. That's perfect. Yeah, everybody, thanks so much, Aaron Ross. He'll be outside for a minute if you have any other questions. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Gabe.